Hey there gang, Kawaii50 here with another FGO video, and as promised, it is time to talk about Tomlin Lancelot, also known as Melusine. It's taken me a while. It's taken me a while to figure out how this video is going to go, and there's a lot of stuff I've had to look at to try to craft what I think is the best pieces of advice for Melusine out there for you, and I think I've finally got it. We're going to be going over allies, craft essences, and command codes in order to try and ensure that this is the last Lancer you will ever need. Hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, be sure to go ahead, like and subscribe. And even though I didn't put it in the thumbnail, even though you're not seeing it right now, because of the nature of how this character works, you are going to see her third ascension. So if you don't want to see that right now, I guess just come back to this video when you are prepared to see that. Sorry to Melusine's author Choco, I have let everyone know in the beginning of the video that I'm going to have to show the third ascension, so hopefully you can forgive me for that. Did I say author or artist? I don't really know anymore. Anyways, let's actually talk about the character, since that's what you're here for. Melusine comes equipped with 1 quick, 2 arts, and 2 buster cards. As for the noble phantasm, well, we'll get to that in a sec. Her stats are fairly impressive, the one that sticks out to me being her max attack of 12,154. Fairly high. Her NP per hit isn't too shabby at that 0.65. She's got some solid hits on those arts cards, and when it comes to star absorption, well, you get what's expected from a Lancer. It is just a little below average. But don't worry, we got ways to shore that up. Melusine's first skill is Dragonheart, rank B. This gives her 20 to 40% attack for 3 turns, 3 turns of 500 HP damage cut. It increases her max HP by 1 to 2k, and also grants her a 20 to 30% NP steroid. These are all very, very good bonuses, and you would think just out of the gate that this would be an easy first max for Melusine. Well, you're going to want to, at most, level this in tandem with her third skill, at least max this skill second, because that third skill, it does some things. It really does some things. Melusine's second and least important skill is Parry Dancer rank B. This gives her a massively increased critical star gather rate for 3 turns. It increases her critical stars per turn by 5 to 10, so you're getting maybe 30 stars out of this at best, and also immediately grants another 5 to 10 critical stars the second it is used. This is a pretty decent crit star booster, but compared to her other 2 skills, it is decidedly weak. The star gather is also fairly massive at start, so that lowers the priority of this skill even more. Overall, a decent skill, still max this last. And Melusine's final skill is maybe one of the creme de la cremes of all FGO skills, Ray Horizon rank A. If Melusine is in her first or second ascension, Ray Horizon will immediately change her to her third ascension, and her NP type will change from single target arts to buster AoE. This grants a staggering 50 to 100% noble phantasm charge and gives Melusine 1 turn of invincibility. In the event that Melusine is already in third ascension, this skill's effects change. Instead, she is going to get a 20 to 30% increase in her noble phantasm strength for 3 turns, and this is going to still apply that invincibility to herself. Now, this skill is interesting, and I really was thinking about the best way to go about this, and I needed to make sure I checked out a bunch of different bits of JP farming gameplay to go ahead and make sure I had this figured out correctly. So massive thanks to everyone out there who put up Melusine gameplay footage. Odds are I watched your gameplay footage, so I really do appreciate it. Now, the way you want to use Ray Horizon when it comes to buster farming is quite simple. You are going to go ahead and immediately pop this turn 1 because it's immediately going to give you a 100% Noble Phantasm gauge and change her type to the Buster AoE. Following this up with your double Koyanskaya team, Melusine is definitely going to be able to buster farm quite reliably, and with Koyanskaya's special abilities, odds are you'll be able to use Ray Horizon again before your farming is over. It truly is a monumentally powerful skill. Now, when it comes to using Melusine another way for boss farming, you might be thinking, well, doesn't this end up making her Art's Noble Phantasm worthless? Not so. Instead, what you're going to want to do in that case is use Melusine's Art's Noble Phantasm first when fighting the boss, so you can go ahead and farm up a bunch of Noble Phantasm gain. Maybe you'll be able to hit the boss a couple of times with Melusine's Noble Phantasm, depending on your allies and overall setup. Then, when you finally have exhausted your uses of that Noble Phantasm, you aren't ready to loop again, well, go ahead and pop Ray Horizon, change into Third Ascension, and start laying in with that AoE damage for the rest of the fight. I never thought I'd see a skill like this in FGO proper, but here it is. Truly, truly magnificent. Easily her most important skill, because you need to max it to get that 100% Noble Phantasm charge. When it comes to Melusine's Append skills, her first two are the most important. Extra attack boost, of course, is very, very helpful. It definitely piggybacks off that NP gain from her Arts type Noble Phantasm and is going to allow you to loop with her when it comes to fighting single target bosses. The extra damage and stars, of course, don't hurt either. Load magical energy, of course, is great on basically anyone in the game, Melusine being no exception. With this, you can kinda deal with having her third skill only at level 7. If you have this maxed at 10, then, you know, you're gonna still get 100% charge out of that if that skill is only at level 7. However, I would still recommend leveling it up to the fullest because you're missing out on an extra 4% Noble Phantasm damage, and sometimes that can mean the difference between victory and defeat. And now here's the part where I show the gameplay footage of Noble Phantasms before I talk about them, so please enjoy both of Melusine's Noble Phantasms.
神明理想展開精錬たる湖面月光を返す沈めイノセンスアロンライトこの名はアルビオ境界を開く最後の竜ジョフロアからフロモンへ時を示せ行けイタイト
Alright, let's start by taking a look at our first NP, Innocence Arondite. This is 900 to 1500% damage to a single enemy, inflicts them with damage plus for 5 turns, and also grants 10 critical stars immediately. The overcharge effect is quite good, augmenting Melusine's NP gain for 3 turns, and of course it activates before damage is dealt. This is an excellent single target Noble Phantasm that you will find yourself using repeatedly in order to take down bosses. Eventually, Melusine will run out of gas, but in true boss character from a fighting game fashion, well, this is only the beginning. She'll eventually change into that Third Ascension to continue to bring the pain. Speaking of Third Ascension, Melusine's Noble Phantasm while in that ascension is Hollow Heart Albion. This ignores invincibility and activates before damage is dealt. This also increases her Buster card effectiveness by 20 to 60% and also activates before damage is dealt. And this hits all enemies for 300 to 500% damage, giving them 5 turns of burn. Odds are you're only gonna be firing this off when you are using her for Buster farming in order to, you know, hit that repeatedly, but you're gonna end up using this when you end up fighting bosses, because eventually you're just gonna have to pop that third skill if you want to keep the damage train rolling. And that extra damage plus combined with that burn damage, Ooh, very nice, very nice. Can definitely eat some bosses quickly. So when it comes to allies, of course, we want our top tier supports, but here's where we start to run into a little bit of an issue with Melusine. See, she's mainly focused on using that Arts Noble Phantasm or that Buster Noble Phantasm. So some players may not like the fact that, hey, if I'm fighting a boss, for example, and using those Arts Noble Phantasms, either I consider my last skill useless, or I'm going to have to pop it to get that NP damage, and I'm going to feel like I'm losing out on a little bit of damage. I personally think it's kind of negligible overall, considering the amount of damage she is going to be putting out, but of course, some players are going to be like, what do I do? What do I do here? So of course we definitely want to use our Castoria if we are focused on the single target, and if we are going to the AoE, that is going to make Koyanskaya your best friend. We of course have other options available to us. You can, of course, if you're running Chaldea Combat Uniform, run Melusine with 2 Artorias, and then when she transforms, maybe pop in a Pocket Merlin or a Pocket Oberon when he comes out to grant her some additional damage when it comes to those Buster cards that can be very helpful in finishing your enemy off, especially if you are in the midst of a challenge quest. However, overall, I really feel like just a double Castoria team for bosses and a double Koyanskaya team for farming will do the job more often than not. So let's move on to craft essences. Again, with Melusine's mixed nature between Buster cards and Arts cards, I actually find a hard time recommending any specific card damage type for her. Instead, it seems like the best way to go with Melusine is focusing her on either NP gain, raw Noble Phantasm damage, or starting NP gauge in order to use her Noble Phantasm that much faster. If you are fighting bosses, go with a K-Scope right out the gate. An instant 100% coupled with a couple Castorias on the line, well, that is going to ensure that you Noble Phantasm frequently and you get as many Arondites on the enemy as possible before you have to switch into that 3rd Ascension. I can also definitely recommend Distant Pilgrimage for her. This grants that NP gain, that NP strength, and that starting NP gauge. Overall, this thing is very good. If you manage to snag one of these back in Apocrypha Inheritance of Glory, well, your Melusine is pretty dang set. Ideally for farming, you are going to go with something like the Black Grail. Once you have that double Koyanskaya team, that raw 80% Noble Phantasm damage, if you have this max limit broken, is what is going to push your Melusine to new heights and ensure she gets that Noble Phantasm recharge. I also definitely would like to recommend Corrupting Mud Rain, something to keep an eye out for in the future. Not only does this CE just have incredible art, but it grants starting NP gauge, NP strength. Get it together, man. Stop getting distracted by the art. This grants NP strength 40 to 50% and also increases Melusine's Noble Phantasm overcharge level by 2 once. So you're either going to be getting NP gain out of this when you end up using it in her 1st or 2nd Ascension, or you're going to be getting that Buster card effectiveness severely boosted if you're using it with her 3rd. And finally, command codes. There's all kinds of ways you can go with this, but let's try and keep it as simple as possible. When it comes to those arts cards, let's focus on NP regeneration rate. So if our Melusine is fighting bosses, she's going to have a little more leeway when it comes to getting her Noble Phantasm charge. Things like the Wizard of Menlo Park can be incredibly helpful, especially if you need to use this before you use her Arts Noble Phantasm. Up the damage, you might up the overkill, which will therefore up the refund. Crest of Titan's Pit is of course a solid 3-star option on the arts cards as well. You can also just opt for raw NP damage with things like Empress of the Hanging Gardens. This can be very helpful when it comes to wanting to have your Melusine just absolutely bulldoze whoever she is fighting. Very good to have something that grants her NP damage, and when it comes to Empress of the Hanging Gardens, the extra critical stars don't hurt either. Another way you can go about this is just giving Melusine pure debuff cleanse. If you are using her for farming, well, command codes don't necessarily matter all that much, but when you are bringing your Melusine to fight bosses, having an ability to have her cleanse her own debuffs can be very helpful in ensuring you end the fight that much quicker. Mini Ushiwaka tends to be my premier recommendation. I really feel like this should have been a 4-star. This grants a critical star as well as removes an offensive debuff when attacking. Things like attack down, arts down, buster down, or NP down, well, you don't want to see that on Melusine. But you can chuck anything else on there such as Code Cure, White Vessel's Command Seal, really anything that removes debuffs is going to be effective. Overall, gang, Melusine really is a boss character made flesh. The main issue that people run into with her kit is that she requires heavy support. That is just the name of the game in FGO, so I don't consider it as much of a detriment as some other people might consider, but she really needs that art support when it comes to fighting bosses, or that double Koyan Skya setup in order to just bulldoze when it comes to farming. However, her gimmick is not just gimmicky, it's actually really good, and grants you a both strong and versatile servant to bring to your front lines. Maybe even eliminating your need for any sort of Lancer in the foreseeable future. You'll probably just be able to ride Melusine's coattails for the rest of FGO, and honestly be just fine never getting another Lancer again. However, I still don't believe Melusine is the best character to come out in FGO this year. And honestly, considering the bar she has set for strength when it comes to the Lancer class, the fact that I said you probably don't need another Lancer again, well, me saying that statement should both excite and horrify you. But of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts on Melusine down in the comment section below. Let me know if you think there are any allies, craft essences, or command codes I might have missed, and let me know what your favorite Melusine ascensions are. Is she your favorite Fairy Knight, or are you a fan of Barghest like me? Go ahead and let me know. As you're heading down in the comments to share your thoughts, be sure to check out the Discord, the Patreon, the Ko-fi. A huge thanks to everyone on all of those platforms. And of course, a big thanks to all of you here on YouTube as well. It's because of your support that I'm continuing to make these videos, and I really do appreciate it. Anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see y'all in the next one.